And I believe we're ready to go here. How's it going, everyone? And welcome to the Xbox Roundtable podcast. This is episode number 181, your place for Xbox talk on Sunday nights and a little more from the game industry. I'm your pal Invader, the host for the evening, and we've got a lot to cover tonight. Lots of chatter regarding Starfield. There's been a few big leaks and insiders coming out with some info on it. As well, we've had Xbox personnel teasing mind-blowing, supposedly new IP in the works, so very interesting there. Also, talk of the Coalition working on something outside of Gears of War, and a lot more. However, before we get into all of the news and all the good stuff, let me introduce everybody on the panel tonight. And joining us tonight, we got two really talented guys here that you'll know from various podcasts around the gaming community. And first up, we got the host of the GRG podcast. Please welcome Kmega. How you doing, man?
Man, thank you, man. Really excited, man. First time being on TXR. Just want to give everybody a shout out, even for the guys who's not here for Southbound and for Megatron. But saying listen. Usually while I'm prepping up for fight night. Big fan of you guys, the work and everything that y'all been doing. Of course, my boy Timmy, man, I'm always happy to talk with my boy Timmy. So it's really fun. So man, glad to be here. Thank you so much for the invite, man. Really excited.
Naturally, yeah, and of course we love our brothers Southbound and Megatron. Hopefully they come back sometime soon. Always great additions. All right, but yes, thank you for coming on, Kmega. And next, we got with us another popular community member from the amazing Next podcast. We've got Predator H2O. Hey, what's going on, Pred?
Hey, man, not much, man. I was so excited to see the invite because I don't think I've ever been on TXR. And then when I found out Kmega was coming, I was like, oh, man. I know I talked with Tim before, me and you and Vader. We've talked a couple of times. I don't know if I know Shockley, but I do follow Centurion as well, but I'm happy to be on, man. Thank you for the invite. It's always a pleasure to jump on with some other gamers I know.
Naturally. Well, hey, man, you're always welcome on here. I'd love to have the great community discussions, talking all things games, Xbox, whatever it may be. But yeah, thanks for coming on, guys, and I look forward to the chat tonight. And now on to the TXR regulars. Tim Budd, how you been?
Good, man. Really pumped up. It seems like a lot of hype going on. Great panel. Kmega, H20, great guys. Great podcast themselves. So it's going to be a good show. We got a lot to talk about. So let's get to it.
Agreed, brother. Shockley, buddy. Hey, what have you been up to since we last chatted? Shock?
He's probably technical. Just move on.
All right, buddy. Shockley. Centurion pal. Hey, what's up, friend?
Oh, not much, man. It is Sunday night. I am excited to be here, man. I got obviously every Sunday night I get to hang out with you and Tim Dog Invader, but tonight we've got Kmega and Predator. I have actually done shows with you two gentlemen. It is absolutely amazing to be able to do another show with you guys once again. How you guys doing?
Absolutely. No, man. It's like I said, this is great. When I got the invite, I was giddy. I was telling my wife, like, whoa, I'm getting ready to get on TXR, man. This is what the professionals are.
I did the same thing.
Dude, GRG and the Next podcast are two podcasts that have me like on the floor laughing the whole time.
Hey man, we try to be funny, lighthearted, especially with me and Fred. We go at it every once in a while, but yeah, no, I mean our boy Xbox 448 been knowing that brother for a long time. He's a dear friend of mine, so and just man, we try to have a friendly environment, but we take it seriously, but we don't take it too seriously to where people just can't listen and enjoy and laugh and have fun. That's the same on GRG as well. So man, yeah, I know, like Fred just said, I mean, this is an honor for real.
All right. Yeah, no, again, guys, great to have you on. Great community members. Shockley will just wait on for a little bit. I think he's just working out some technical stuff. So, you know what, guys?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, you are.
Cut off.
Okay, bud, how have you been?
Well, Oh, pretty good. Finally beat Returnal. I think I only died 10 times, so that's pretty good. I didn't do the secret ending yet because that takes a little bit of RNG to get that. And moved on to Resident Evil 8, which that's been fantastic. I didn't really dig 7. I got partway into it trying to play the VR. But this one feels like you're back at home. Like especially if you enjoyed Resident Evil 4, it feels like perfectly at home. Like especially if you love that game. So that's what I've been doing lately. But we'll get into the topics.
Yeah, no, totally. And you know what? We will kick things off, guys, by talking about Starfield. I mean, that's the hot topic the past few days. And, you know, the game, it's only really been known by a teaser from a few years back and a handful of interviews. And a lot of people are excited for it because it's Bethesda's next big game. With the, you know, obviously the acquisition by Microsoft, everyone soon questioned, you know, what's this game's exclusivity going to be? Well, it looks like we've gotten confirmation based on what reliable insiders are saying now, with VentureBeat's Jeff Grubb stating that Starfield is exclusive to Xbox and PC, period. This is me confirming that, along with a few other fairly credible sources reiterating the same thing. Obviously, I want everyone to chime in here, but I'll start off with our guests. Kmega, I'll go to you first. This is a game that, while admittedly we don't know much about, it's being billed as the Fallout in space, quote unquote. This is going to be a very significant release. So how big is this title? How big is Starfield going to be as an exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem?
Well, for it being an exclusive, it's massive. It's a brand new AAA IP. So for that right there, that gives it, you know, that's in a huge point right there. But for the game itself, we don't know what it is. I mean, I've heard rumors that the game is not like Outer Worlds; it's more like Outer Wilds or No Man's Sky. You know, when I've also heard that it could be somewhere in the same realm as Mass Effect. I have no idea, or it's like Fallout in space. I have no idea what the game is, but I wouldn't tell anybody not to be hyped for it because Xbox has been needing these AAA exclusives for sure. And for this game, for me, to get the attention, so much attention that it's getting, I think it's great. I just don't want people to get too ahead of themselves and start crowning it as this achievement when we haven't seen or known anything about it. But I definitely think that it's going to be massive, and I'm really excited for it. I mean, personally, I can't wait to see what they're going to show us at E3. And if this game is potentially going to drop this time this year, when you got like Halo, when you have the other games that's going to be dropping, I mean, that's a huge win for Xbox for sure.
Right. Now, is this something that we should keep our hype in check for? I mean, again, we don't really know a lot about it, and considering some of the issues with the creation engine in the past, I mean, obviously Fallout 76, it had its fair share of, bugs and so on. Again, I know a lot of people are really excited for it, but is that something where we should maybe, just wait to get excited, kind of a thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, it's all right to be hype about something, but it's just that when people start talking about games like this that we don't really know about, and then trying to project it to be up there on the stage, same wavelength with Halo or God of War or even Skyrim, something of that nature, that to me is a little bit much. Because I mean, we could just look at just the most recent game that had the biggest hype, I think, in years, and that was Cyberpunk. And that is a game that I absolutely love up and down. But a lot of people didn't get the opportunity to play it like I did all the way through. And it had a disaster launch, and it did not meet expectations. So that's the one thing I would just say to gamers is, look, be happy about it. It'd be hype, but just don't crown it yet. Let's see what this game is, because as we've talked about Returnal, that's a game that some people was already touting as being game of the year. But then now,
now nobody's
some-
talking about it.
Yeah, now nobody's really talking about it. And then also people didn't know what roguelike games were about, and then they started having the issues to start seeing how hard and difficult the game is. So that's the same thing. So that's why I'm just trying to tell Xbox gamers, hey, just pump the brakes a little bit. Be hyped. There's nothing wrong with that. But please, let's just see what this game is. I believe that Todd Howard and them is going to make a fantastic game, but I just want to see it and at least know what the story and the aspects of the game is going to be first before we can start crowning.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Actually, did anybody see, there was a few leaks the past few days? Did anybody see the leaked pictures from the game?
Yeah.
I saw it. I tweeted it, and I can tell you just by my analytics of my Twitter, I notice when things are hot with Xbox, you get, there's certain signs of it. For some reason, Starfield wiped everything off the charts. It wiped off the Ratchet and Clank talk, which I thought that was going to be dominant. It wasn't dominant. When Jeff Grubb made an obvious tweet, even more obvious, I think it set in to some people. And, there's a reset error with 1,500 replies in under 3 hours or whatever. The thread got closed because everyone started acting like babies. Saying you robbed me, all this type of stuff. And,
I saw that.
I had one guy say that Sony's going to sue them. But I can tell you that the overall reaction to Starfield, and you'll see a lot of content creators now jumping on Starfield videos. You'll see that. You could tell the trend. People, listen, me and Kmega, we talked right before the show. We kind of went back and forth about this. I think it is a game that Xbox, if you listen, he's right, and you should be cautious, but they got to get this right. Todd Howard had a bad showing with Fallout 76, I think. He's ready to really make his case again. He has a certain level of pedigree that's it's up there. Like, there's certain guys that you could say that make games. Druckmann, I think, is the best example, and I'm not even putting Howard in that class, but that you're going to get that game. With this game, I think that they really have a chance to knock it out of the ballpark. They have a good theme. It's different. It's in space. It's an RPG. There's probably going to be a lot of stuff. When Xbox was at its strongest, I felt that it had Mass Effect and it was exclusive. I kind of feel like this is touching on that. And I do feel like all these people who bash Xbox, say you don't have games to play. Listen, I'm waiting for that date for this game to drop because I think it's going to be the game that shuts everyone up, because there comes a point where, listen, I'm playing Resident Evil 8. If this was just exclusive on PlayStation 5, I would have to get a PlayStation 5. There's no doubt about it. That's how big of a deal it is. And I think it's a needle pusher. And, it's on fire right now. It's just nice to see. A lot of people are hyped about it, but it's also crazy to see that people still think this is not going to be an exclusive.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty crazy too, because we also got rumors of supposedly one big Xbox Bethesda show also in the works as well for the whole E3 kind of a showcase. Do you think that we'll hear anything? Do you guys think that Starfield is going to be released this year?
Oh, man, that's a tough one, man. It's like, I don't know, because we haven't even, with Bethesda, the last couple of games that have come out with, it's been like a short, announcement window. Here's some gameplay footage, and it's coming out in 3 months. So they've been working on this game for 5 years now. It seems like is what I'm hearing, getting thrown around. So it could possibly come out. You got to think there haven't been any huge releases for the Series X, yet. Halo got delayed, so that was supposed to be their breadwinner right there. But since they delayed that, we really haven't had a huge game. So I think the beginning of this year after E3 is it's put up or shut up time. So if you got something that's ready, drop it. I just hope it's ready. And I think if this comes out with the same stigma that that Cyberpunk came out and it's broken, it's screwed up, or Fallout 76, I don't really think they're gonna make that mistake again. But if it comes out and it releases with very minimal bugs, it'll be a hit when it comes out. But I just don't know, man. It's like I think it needs to, but it depends on what it's up against too. Like you got, after when we start hitting that stride in October, November, when we start ramping up, you're gonna have Halo, possibly Forza, Battlefield. I think there's another Call of Duty coming out this year. And if you throw Starfield in that mix, not saying it's gonna, go up against it's not gonna hold its own weight, but that's a lot in a small amount of time frame coming by the end of the year between like I said, October and December. It's possible, but I would see that.
Here's one thing you should think about is you don't have to buy it. It's like Game Pass is going to put access to it in people's hands where they don't have to hey, do I get Battlefield or do I get Horizon? If you have multiple consoles, but say you don't, whatever. But say any of those other multi-plats that are big, heavy hitters, those are $60. Maybe I choose one of those, but okay, I'll get Game Pass, and Halo multiplayer is free to play. And if I want to play the campaign, just get Game Pass and I get Starfield. And
here would be my reasoning why they wouldn't put it out is because we can't find Series X's anywhere. Now, if this game is going to be on the One X or the One S, that's different because you can still play it on old gen consoles. But if you can only play this on Series X and PC, and like I said, a lot of homes can't find one, so that might be the only holdup right now. At least Halo's on multi-system. So
that's a great point because I know I've talked to people and they said that they wanted to release Halo 2 when there's readily available consoles. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. They're not going to have. I think the shortages are going to continue to next year, and that could be a reason in their talks. Hey, let's give them 4 months, give Halo its shine in the holiday, and put this right here March. You really can't go wrong. Grubb has hinted now that he thinks it's going to get delayed. That comes from fears that there's been studies done or things that I've heard that you only get 50% of the 75% of your workers' output as compared to if they're in the office where you get 100% output. There are people that actually look at that type of stuff. That's just there's a job for a job for a job. It's called micromanaging. And especially when it comes to money and stuff like that, it's being done. So, so you don't get the same production. So it also tied into COVID. Xbox, I think, company-wide, they don't have gatherings till or Microsoft had some. They're not going to have any large-scale events to the 22nd. It depends on their recommendations and if people are back to work. But if they're in full swoop and they're back together now and they're working in the offices, I think that they could get it done by this year, and it's still a possibility. I just think it's in flux right now, and maybe what you just said is part of the talk now. They're saying, hey, we're going to be freaking supply constricted till freaking March of 2022. Let's, this will be a perfect time to, get a huge amount of chips and put them out and win an MPD and take an MPD in April and put it out April because that's the way you have to think. It's now strategy, and I do feel like it's going to be the Xbox game that shuts people up when it comes to where your games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and just to put it out there too, we also don't know what other games are kind of out there. Actually, I'm gonna just answer this because this kind of leans into what I'm saying. Dirt Griggity with the $5 super chat. Hey Dirt, thanks for the donation. What's up, TXR, Kmega, and Pred? I know people made fun of us for this, but does saying wait till E3 hit different in 2021 because of the 23 studios? Well, yeah, I think so. Just because I think certain people are on edge, just because Xbox basically doubled their studios within let's just say they've increased it quite significantly this year, and there's going to be a lot of announcements. And leading to what I was saying from that, like, we still have unannounced games. For example, are we going to get Forza Horizon 5 this year? You know, we've heard some murmurs about that. Will we see like other titles as well? Psychonauts 2 is also on its way, judging by Phil changing his pick recently. I wouldn't be surprised if we heard something about that soon. And there's others. There's so many so much content coming out of these studios that, oh yeah, we'll see some new stuff soon. Centurion, I would love to get your thoughts on this, the whole Starfield thing. Like, do you think that we'll hear something about Starfield sometime soon?
Oh, definitely. Has anybody been paying attention to some of the Xbox Twitters, like the whole E3 logo on like the Starfield background? I'm looking forward to what E3 is going to reveal for, in my mind, the next 1 to 2 years. The direction that Xbox is going, the direction that Bethesda is now going to take under Xbox's ownership. And I know there's probably a lot of people that have concerns over, some of the bugs and stuff that from games in the past over at Bethesda. But I have to look at now some of the games that I'm playing on the boosted games from Xbox, the 120 games. The Fallout games and other games like that are running so smooth now on the Series X that I really do feel that technology has come to a point where some of these games, I mean, at least this particular engine feels a little bit better optimized, at least for the Series X. I am curious on how this game's going to work on other consoles. But for the most part, I'm not too concerned on if the game's going to be like another Cyberpunk situation, because we got to look at what Todd Howard's been through with getting burned on Fallout 76. We got to look at what Phil Spencer's been through with Lionhead Studios, games like Fable Legends, Scalebound, even Crackdown 3. So even Phil has had his fair share of things biting him. So I'm pretty sure that they're not going to want to put anything out there unless it's ready. And I'm just going to take the stance the game will be ready when it's ready. And I'm not going to be one of these people that go on Twitter or any other social media and demand more and this, that, and the other. I already have a backlog that's overflowing. I just got the Mass Effect trilogy, and God knows how long that's going to take. I mean, there's games coming out from everywhere, and a game like Starfield is just going to be a monumental task just to play it in itself. So that game will be ready when it's ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, totally. All right, we got $2 super chat from Psychonauts, and he says Starfield. Tim, I think that's a reference to you. Starfield.
Yeah, I just keep putting Starfield up, and I just watch my followers grow. Literally, I put it up, and then I get these conversations. I don't read them when it's on like a tweet like that, or I will read them, but I will like not comment. Yeah, I just keep putting it up, and it's like I said, it's gathered a hype on its own, and I just can't believe it. I thought people would be talking about Ratchet and Clank and the impressions, but that didn't seem to, more people were talking about 1080p stuff like that. I mean, it does look tremendous. Looks like a good game, but there was their hype and the Returnal just fell off. I mean, like Kmega said, it's a rogue shooter, so I think that it definitely is a little bit, it narrows the people who play it. Takes a certain type of player to like that, I guess.
And it's $70 too, so people.
Yeah, and it's $70 exactly. But aside from that, like that's not dominating the talk. The talk has been holy shit, Starfield's exclusive, and then now they're drip leaking, which I really like. I think that they're selectively giving out screens now to people, influencers in the community, or that are in that. Like that one guy who keeps tweeting stuff, he's getting fed something from somebody, probably from, from Xbox. What I've heard on Xbox PR side, everyone shut up. Radio silence, no interviews really. Try not to go on podcasts. This is make or break time, and I think they're very focused. From what I gather, just asking, they're just like right now, balls to the wall working, and that's every E3. But I just think it's a little different now because of COVID. Now they're coming back and they're kind of back into it, and they're inundated with work. So it's good in a way. But yeah, maybe we'll get some announcements tomorrow about E3. But this place is about to blow up. Xbox fans are super excited. We're not going to pretend that we don't have games, because games are going to be coming. They're going to come to a point where, it's going to get ridiculous.
Already there.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll just be when they can just knock that off and say, hey, here. I think that's possible. XO 2020 could happen too. And that might be in person. So there's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot of planning going on, I believe. But yeah, Xbox is a place to be, man. And I'm not just saying that; just feel it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. I was just gonna say, what Dirk Griggity just said is like, look, we've been saying this for a while. These things take time. The games doesn't just get made overnight. I mean, just look at The Last of Us 2 and how long that was in development. And so again, for anybody that wants, instant gratification in the gaming business, that's just not going to happen. And then once we get to the point to where it's just constantly big hit coming, on top of the stuff that we already know about, but still don't know when those games are going to drop, like Scorn or Crossfire X and Bright Memory Infinite. There's just so many games that's going to be dropping within the next year that we're going to be overwhelmed. And thank God for Game Pass. And then on top of that, you start dropping these big AAA bangers on top of that. I mean, our plate will be so full that I don't think anybody will be able to say anything about Xbox has no games anymore for sure. It's gonna get crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna get, a guy like me who, took it. I'll be reminding people, I'm sure, on Twitter. Yeah.
I will too.
But the thing is that, listen, it's now, I'd never really started looking at this when we started talking pre-show. I definitely think now Xbox is in the position where they're looking strategically. And Predator brought the thing about the supply is, I'm hearing that, and I reiterate this, that they're going to be out, it's both Sony and them, till like March of next year. And that means that you're in the same position. Yeah, during Christmas it's going to get crazier. There'll be a lot, probably maybe more waves, but it's still going to be hard. It's still going to be like, you got to get lucky. When it comes to the point where you can readily go into the store and just buy it, that could be April of 2022. Now, if that's the case, why blow your whole wad on the freaking Starfield, Forza Horizon 5, and Halo? Like, why not Halo, Forza, and then Starfield, and give it a fresh start in April? Like, that's strategic wise now that's coming in. When Sunset Overdrive dropped, what was the game that demolished it? It just basically, it came out during a time
Destiny.
Where was it Destiny?
Destiny came out
absolutely
like a month or so
Titanfall
after.
And Destiny, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it absolutely just
day one. I never played it because
of Destiny. It has to be Destiny.
I bought it because something else was coming up, and then Destiny beta was coming up, and then I was too hyped, and I was like,
Right.
yeah, I'm not playing it. Sorry.
But the reason why I bring
Mordor dropped it around there too, didn't it?
There was a lot of
Yeah,
games. Probably
there
Assassin's
was one. There
Creed
was one.
too.
Maybe it was. It was one game in particular that was going to be like, why are they on that date? Why are they on that date? And a lot of people brought it up. And I think afterwards, in 2020 hindsight, they probably should have went with a different date. They just put it up and it got crushed. And, with Starfield, you could really, not that you don't want it to crush Halo, first of all. Maybe just give Halo its own platform. So there's a lot of things that can be talked about in that nature. And I just think it's, The Xbox got no games now. Which games are Xbox going to drop and when, and what announcements are coming? Because on top of this, we have still a ton of announcements that we don't know about.
Yeah,
There's a lot of stuff that they have.
I can see early March next year, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially because there's no way Ragnarok is going to make 2021. We never even saw a glimpse of a CGI trailer for that. So that could be something early next year for Sony. So that'd be a good kind of counter God of War. And you have Starfield to go up against it. Horizon, hopefully this year. But
you realize we probably won't get a custom console for Halo.
No, you're right, 100%. Maybe after the case, it's a great point. But I thought about that the other day. Yeah, a controller for sure. But that's an excellent point. I actually thought about that the other day. I'm like, no way, you're not going to get custom console for a long time. I don't think
this will be the first no custom console for Halo.
I mean, maybe they could, but I doubt it.
OG.
I think they just want. From what I heard, they would just want sheer numbers. They just want as many as that they can get. AMD can't keep up with the demand. I mean, it's not really their fault. Pandemic hit, a lot of things that and then we have cryptocurrency that's going crazy. 3090s, are just impossible to get. You have a shortage on every segment of the supply line. So, it's just in Corona. So, listen, I think next year, March is the date, really. And I don't know. I do think that originally that I've heard that they wanted this year. So, I think that nothing's set in stone, that they're basically discussing it as we speak. They might make a decision the week before E3, and that's the way you have to be when you want, you've always had to be that way, especially when you're going up against each other. But that's the way you have to be. You have to be flexible, and I think that this makes them a little flexible. And 2022 is going to be like nice, and then I think 2023, 2024, those years are just going to be like, really bombarded with a lot of games.
So, Tim, I've been calling that for a while on product shortages. I remember in the holidays of last year, everybody was talking about how things are going to be better. And regretfully, in my line of work, I get to work on products from all over the world, which is fun. Right now, I have to tell some of my customers when they come in and ask for certain things that I will take their money gladly, but they won't see anything for about 8 months.
Wow.
So, like, look,
I remember you saying that.
Have like an 8-month build time behind them.
And I have to say, I remember that we actually talked about that on the show. And I remember at the time disagreeing with you, but you actually turned out completely right. One of the things that I think it also hit Xbox off, Microsoft and Sony. Like I think that they all thought they were going to be okay in April, and that was the thing. And then it just was like, no, June, and then like June hit, and then it's like, no, next year. I
always had this. So what I try to explain to my customers is at the beginning of this pandemic, we had this completely worldwide shutdown for about 3 months, that there was like really no factories were running worldwide for about 2 to 3 months. And then all of a sudden these factories opened back up to economies that, some of their products almost tripled in demand, but they had all these rules and restrictions through social distancing on how many people could be on the factory floor, how many people could be near each other. So you basically have this shrunken down labor force, and they were never allowed to basically recover the product that they had sold during those months that they were shut down. They basically ate off their own supply without replenishing it. Wow. And now we're starting to go through this bubble where there's no product because they never had a chance to catch up.
Yeah, it's a great way of explaining it. Going back and looking at the pandemic, and when it started, I remember that everything was just shut down. Like your mind was shut down for at least a month or whatever. Like nobody was even driving. I remember driving because I'm a essential worker on the road at like rush hour, and there was nobody on the road.
Oh, dude.
And that's it. And I'm talking about New York, like where, bro, you have no idea.
So, I feel like I've kind of been on the front lines of some craziness because I don't really watch too much about political stuff, but apparently whatever's going on in the state next to me that has like the West Coast, apparently about a lot of people packed up and left. And according to our analysts here, about 1,000 people a day left and came over here and started buying up houses, real estate. Are like, dude, you can't find apartments with ease around here. That like, there is more people on the roads now than before the pandemic.
You know what's crazy too about your whole point of just wine. I think it's really a fundamental way of looking at it. But like the pandemic made everyone with the game as gamers, all of us here, everyone was like tuned into gaming, and then you got like this new rash of people that got into it, and they've stuck on. You like really added a lot of gamers after coronavirus, so now you have that compiled onto everything.
They found out how
so
therapeutic
you're coming back to
be.
work and gaming. Like Xbox is way up, like their financials are ridiculous, Sony's is ridiculous, so it's like the perfect storm, and that's why we just have to wait it out. But aside from that, as about the subject of Starfield, it does give you that idea that when it does hit, they could strategically place it if they want, especially when people can buy the consoles. You'd hate to put out a unbelievable exclusive and you can't sell the console.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Again, Tim, like they're in a place now where they got multiple things on the go. For example, later this month, was it MechWarrior 5 will be dropping on console and the Windows Store. We got, again, Psychonauts 2. Flight Simulator is supposed to be dropping on console in August, I believe. Crossfire X, The Gunk, Scorn. And there's a whole slew of other stuff that they're not just relying on the big games, Bright Memory and so on. Like it's not just Starfield, and that's the thing. They can, if they wanted to, again, they could move it. Some people are saying in the chat that, there's rumors about it being moved to like either February or March. And you know what? That'd be fine too. Just give it time to breathe, right? Be strategic about it if they need to.
Right, and I think that's the perfect opportunity right there, because there's going to be a lot of people that's going to be firmly on Halo and Battlefield 6. And that's also a thing that, to me, is with Game Pass, what is Xbox going to bring at the end of the year? Are they going to surprise us with a game to come to Game Pass like Back for Blood? There was because it came out of nowhere that it got moved, it got pushed back. And I'm like, whoa, and I played the demo on PC. And I'm stoked for it. It almost seemed like it was ready to go, but it seemed like there was a reason for them to push it back towards the end of the year. And then let's just go by the rumors that's been going on about Battlefield 6. And if Microsoft and EA can do something and make magic happen and put Battlefield 6 on Game Pass, like that month before Halo drops or after or whatever, because I think Halo might drop a little bit later than what people are anticipating. But if that is to happen, yeah, move Starfield and put it in its own lane right there at the beginning of the year during tax time. Perfect opportunity for Xbox just to have a slate of games coming from the summer all the way until the beginning of the year.
Agreed.
It's a good segue.
Yeah, actually, no, it is, because I was just about to say, on that note, let's move over to some other bits of news. And you always need to be a bit wary, for example, of what a company exec says. Now, they can often stoke up hype when there's nothing there. However, there's a little blurb that dropped that got many people kind of paying attention. And recently, Xbox's head of gaming services, Ben Decker, has hyped a new unannounced game in the works at one of Xbox's studios. He states in his Game Radar interview, and I quote, he's talking about Game Pass here, 55% of those surveyed said that the main reason that they joined is to get new games at release, again referring to Game Pass. He went on to say that we have 23 studios across Xbox and Bethesda working on Halo, Forza, Fallout, and new IP that we haven't even talked about yet that is gonna blow your mind. We can deliver all of that into Game Pass on day one. Now, this makes me very curious as it sounds like they're teasing something new, possibly getting announced soon. I mean, they've been pretty quiet, as Tim said. Predator, I'll go with you on this one. Obviously, it's hard to say what this IP they could be referring to could be, but what would you like to see coming from Xbox Studios? And as well, what internal studio could you see them getting an announcement for?
Man, there's so many studios now. I can't even keep
Right,
going.
right.
Who's got what, like, who's working on what and where? Who hasn't done anything in a while? I mean, look at it that way. Man, I don't know. I've been trying to think what, because Microsoft, their library of games is so diverse now.
Mhm.
It's hard because especially now with all the RPGs they got coming. I honestly, I would love to see them. Um, just kind of get back into the Japanese RPG,
Mhm.
realm. I just don't know who would make it. Like they just don't have that collection. I mean, we getting Yakuzas and stuff like that now, but they need their own. I remember like Blue Dragon when Miss Walker was working with Microsoft. They had Blue Dragon. They had what was the other game they had?
Lost Odyssey.
Lost Odyssey.
Lost
Yeah.
Odyssey, and I remember those games. But like they haven't really gone that way in a while. And they're talking about it's a brand new IP that's gonna blow minds. I mean, I can't tell you what it is, but I'm just like, what studio's working on it? And there's so many. Like they have what, like 20 something plus studios now, and they're all working on multiple projects. So
Yeah,
like
with
we've
multiple
heard about
teams,
them. So
too.
it's kind of hard to be like, okay, well, you're working on it, but you're also working on this and this and this. So like it's
Yeah.
crazy. And you're talking about if you're thinking of something that's gonna blow our mind, that means it's probably AAA. Um, maybe it's maybe it's a studio they just built because they've only talked about one
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I actually think it's an Exile because they were teasing right after that, and they said first person shooter RPG AAA. So I
Mhm.
think that's my personal opinion, but it could be anybody.
Right. I mean, I have a theory too that Compulsion, we will hear something from them too, because they've been very silent, and then up until recently, their Twitter account just started like posting some different pictures and so on. I don't know. I mean, I could see them. It's been a little while since We Happy Few and the DLC's been out for that, so we could see maybe some kind of a teaser.
Well, you know the story with them, right? How they grew to, or they're trying to grow to 100, 120 dev capacity, and
Hmm.
they're getting a new studio built,
Yes.
new property. So they're probably on the back burner, but they're probably writing the game. I mean, I can really want to see what they do. I think, yeah, I agree. Where are they based out of, Vader?
Montreal.
So right, yeah, so the Canada, right up where you were at. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be interesting. I just hope that Phil gives them the full reign because they like to test the waters. Like they were a little
Hmm.
edgy with, if you remember the Happy Pill on We Happy Few. When I saw that at E3, I was like, oh, these guys are, when I saw that trailer, I was totally taken in. I thought that was one of the big things, but they could tell a story, and I think they're going to be a very strong, um, a strong developer. But I like how that they fought for their position. They said, I believe that they told Xbox or Microsoft, we want to grow and we don't want to be a small studio.
Hmm.
So 120 is nearing AAA.
I would
You
say
know,
so.
so 150 are definitely within the studio capacity. I think to make a nice scale AAA. When they made the story of Horizon, I think Guerrilla Games, they were around 150 for a while.
Hmm.
Then they grew to 250, but they made Horizon. So with 150 developers, that's pretty serious. And Xbox has a lot of these studios that are like 230, 250. Rare's like freaking, I don't know. Rare is just a very big. It's hard to get a number on them,
Hmm.
but definitely over 300. Coalition approaching 400. Freaking 343 is like I heard
Yeah.
700 now. It's crazy.
Right. And guys, you got to think about it too. Like even the Bethesda studios, there's all kinds of stuff that they're working on, not just the the regular like Elder Scrolls and whatnot. Arcane is working on a new IP. Actually, there was something that came out earlier today, I think, or this weekend that it was referring to a game codenamed Omen. It's supposed to be like some kind of like a dark vampire game that I was hearing about. That sounded kind of interesting off the forums. ZeniMax Online is working on a new IP, and also like again, they have so many studios. Roundhouse as well. They've been quiet. Supposedly they're working on another new IP. It's insane.
What is Mojang working on besides Minecraft?
That's a good question. If anybody knows in the chat, let me know.
I don't really hear anything out of them. So.
I mean, they're pretty dedicated to Minecraft. Obviously, Minecraft Dungeons is they were still adding some DLC to that, some different expansions, but otherwise, yeah, they're basically the Minecraft crew, as far as I know. I haven't heard of any.
Well, here's a monkey wrench in this whole thing. Maybe that game is from a studio they're acquiring later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, no, it's very possible that that's true. Because, well, I mean, there's been talk about them acquiring, different things for a while now. But then again, look what happened with Discord. Things broke down, and then they went to Sony. So I don't know. But I don't know, either way, it's just very exciting. Like Tim said, in Exile, they were teasing something with the Xbox Twitter. I mean, it's kind of curious too that they brought up or that this Xbox personnel brought up Fallout in these that the studios are working on. I mean, is it possible that In Exile could be working on the Fallout IP?
What would they call it? That would be unbelievable. That would be mind blowing.
That would be.
That'd be really huge. But would they call her like as making it that it's not a sequel? Yeah, that's from what I heard too. I remember like last year there was a talk of all the studios and kind of evaluations and goals being set and stuff like that. And I remember one time, I was playing with some notable people, and they came up and. The comment was, they're really good. They're gonna, like they were taken back how, how what the stuff that they're creating or pushing. So, In Exile's been that was an unbelievable pickup by Phil. It wasn't even talked about when it happened. It was like In Exile, but
even Obsidian's got like 4 or 5 things going on apparently.
Obsidian's at about 250, I think. One day we should try to get Clobril because he really knows a lot. Like I know the internal numbers, or I have an idea, but he really he knows it, and he has the backup for it too. But like if we just had him on, maybe we could figure out. We'll do the whole studios. Maybe I'll talk to him, find out what's what. Because all I've heard, I laughed because when people talked about Jim Ryan, they were all excited, 189 billion put into game development, and they're growing it organically. Xbox has been growing at a crazy pace organically since 2018. It hasn't been reported on at all, other than the likes of Dealer, Cult, people in the Xbox community, myself. They've hired over probably 2,000 developers. I mean, I remember the number. I remember it was 600, over 600, and that was like with 5 months. No, like 3 months, just 600 in 3 months. Then it was like after that, it grew to over 1,000, and I would say by now it's probably 1,500. They have been adding like crazy. That's why I'm spewing off these numbers like Obsidian 250, studios, the developers. Yeah, you could probably have their main guy work 130 to 150 on mainline game, and then you have these other games that they could look into too. So, there's 35 teams, maybe 36 now with Gears, because I think that Gears is going to get now, they're going to get a new IP, but it's going to be experimental. It's more about getting used to the engine and what works, what looks beautiful, what doesn't, and where we can go to get their final design. I think Gears 6 is going to be the defining Unreal Engine experience for 5, and I think that's what they're aiming for. So that's exciting. Gears can take the little break. So I mean, listen, we haven't really talked about other than Bethesda. The Xbox Studios is 15 strong. I think a lot of questions right now with Xbox are, what are you going to do in the fact that you have one guy overseeing 15 studios and they're all growing like the way we're talking? It comes to a point where it's hard to do. So I think that they're trying to shore up their whole Xbox Game Studios, and then once that's done, I think that they'll be done. But I still think that they're still in that aggressive mode, pushing that, and finalizing this. Maybe they get another publisher and they break it up in 3: Bethesda, Xbox West, Xbox East, and they break up the studios so there could be like 10 studios per guy. Because booty at 15 is a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's and I've heard rumblings that people want different budget takes, and it's hard when you're doing 15 studios. Some games are going to get more than others. So and that's handled by. So I could see something happening with that and rebranding, and then basically shoring it up, and then you're talking about a freaking game every 3 months, like, and it being AAA is like 60% of the time. You know what I mean? Like that's just on the first party output. Not to mention that they could do anything what they want day one, third party deals. I mean, that's why we're confident about Xbox, and that's why we're all here. We're all parts of the community, because we see this, and we're reporting on it, and or talking about it. Obviously, I feel that their future is bright. I'm not going to say they have no games when I'm still playing it. I'm playing Resident Evil. I'm playing an unbelievable amount of games via Game Pass, and people who have Game Pass have that thing. So the argument falls on its face. At this point, Xbox is really setting themselves to put themselves on top.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they'll keep Bethesda separate? Like, just not.
Listen. I've talked about this. They have to
manage those studios.
Yeah, they would be completely different. They would just do Bethesda. What are you saying? Take on a couple of studios?
Well, I mean, just like, since there's so many studios, just, hey, ZeniMax, you were managing all of those studios. Just keep doing that. You'll just answer to Phil.
Right. Well, that's pretty much what they've done.
Not too much work, like Booty taking on like 23 at once.
Yes, you're right, 100%. But even 15 at once is a lot. Another solution I heard is maybe Bethesda take like Obsidian and Exile, and Bethesda take those studios and handle them, just to lighten the load on Matt. You know what I mean? Or get I think that there's a little work to be done on that aspect, the managerial aspects, that'll get itself cleared up. I think that's on the agenda. Like, they realize that they're probably going to expand more, and they're going to have the they have to have the oversight too. The oversight can't be just one guy.
And let's not forget too that I'm still hard pressed not to believe that they're not going to try to get, like, because when you were saying that East and West, but I'm thinking when you say East, I'm thinking like Japan or the eastern side of the globe.
Well, I think that's Phil's wish.
Right, and I think like that's a big draw for them, not only just because of Japan, but for Korea, for China, for everything else that's in that region that because there are some really good studios that's making some good games. And Xbox, the only thing right now that they're lacking is some hack and slash and some JRPGs. That's really it. So because you got the shooter market taken up. You have the Western RPG market sewn up. Man, that is crazy how many great Western RPG companies that they have under their fold. And then of course you got just everything else in between. And with Game Pass, I know I'm saying Game Pass a lot, but you just got those games. Something that last gen was lacking, in my opinion, was those double A, those smaller titles that wasn't an indie title, but it wasn't a triple A. That was something that was so huge back in the 360 PlayStation 3 era that seems to be coming back. And with Game Pass, I know that's kind of like their goal to just kind of just give you a mixed pot of everything that you want. And even if it's so much that you can't handle it one time, hey, old games are new games. You know, if you've never played them, then you can always go back and you can play them, and you can keep that subscription. So that to me is their growth is going to be enormous. And because I definitely think that they're going to add somebody. It may not be Sega, it may not be Konami, but it's going to be somebody that they're going to partner with heavily. And then if they can bring in something like the Lost Odyssey or Blue Dragon back, maybe even Record, that would be a definite win. I just, those are the things that I think that Xbox is missing, on top of the fact that I think the Xbox One games need to get a little love as well. I think that, Rise, Quantum Break, Killer Instinct, Recore, those type of games. I'm pretty sure they can't do anything with Sunset Overdrive anymore. But some of those games need to get some kind of love and have a sequel. That I think that's for everybody who's stuck with the Xbox One. That would be the ultimate thank you, gamers, for sticking with us. Now here is a reward, in my opinion.
Now you're getting greedy, Kmega.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You want retribution for the down years.
No,
I agree.
I just want to be a Killer Instinct, man.
Killer Instinct would be a thank you.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
I think we can. I agree with what you're saying. I think Killer Instinct is the one that can be done. Get it going. Quantum Break not happening. Sunset Overdrive not happening. Rise, I don't think it's ever happening. That they wanted to buy it, and Rise was supposedly a dick about it, and they were like, "We'll buy it." And then Rise was like, Crytek had a falling out with Xbox, but that was more because they were just beat up by the public, because they just were at that time supporting Microsoft, and at that time it was fun to hate on. It was, basically just like the way it was supposed to go to beat up, the big bad Microsoft at that time with DRM. Everyone hated them. You had so much negativity going towards it. So I think it was a little bit of that, but Killer Instinct is definitely, listen, I don't know why they just can't make it multi. Would you care if it was multi-plat? Killer Instinct versus Mortal Kombat?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't care either. I would be into it.
I would love that.
If you could merge those worlds and offset the powers, and that's epic in my opinion. You could have a freaking roster of 48 to start. I mean,
right?
Goro versus Glacier. I mean, think of all the fights that you could have. There's so many that you could go through. I hope that happens. Keep on Phil on that. Send him a couple of DMs.
Hey man, I will. I definitely will. I said that to Phil when there was the XO event or whatever before the launch of the and I was like, Phil, I'm going to ask you. He said, I knew it. So I was like, hey man, I need that Killer Instinct, man. But then he explained the reason why. And so it all comes down to, Iron Galaxy and then, where they're at and things like that. So,
well, who could take over? Because it's not going to be them. If they had to do a KI too, it could be them. You're right. It has to be them.
It has to be them because there's not too many, I didn't know that the way it's not too many developers that can make a game like that. That's why you don't see too many games that run like Killer Instinct. And that right there, man, I know I seen something that posted up that they said that they would love to work on it, but I mean, it comes down to Adam Boyes if he's with it and things like that. But no, I mean, I'm not trying to be too greedy. I'm just saying for myself because I did love those games so much on the Xbox One, and I would and I think that because they got destroyed so much because of the stupid resolution gate and then just all the hate that was going on the Xbox One, a lot of people didn't take into those games like they should have because now you're starting to see people that's just now starting to play them and say, hey, man, those games weren't too bad. Man, I like Rise. But yeah, I totally agree. If we could just get one of those games to come back, I'll be definitely happy.
Now, guys, I'm going to switch gears over because obviously there's a few things that Xbox could address, and you guys had touched on them pretty well. But, even, Xbox encapsulates not just console, but PC as well. And, there's been some rumblings here, and it seems like Valve have something in the pipeline that they're secretive about. And recently, Valve CEO Gabe Newell was asked while appearing as a guest speaker at some New Zealand school if Steam will be putting any games on console or if they will remain exclusive to PC for the immediate future. Now, Gabe Newell teased that you will get a better idea of that by the end of the year, and that it will not be the answer you expect. So, I mean, to me, that's quite the tease from Gaben, if you will. A few things come to mind, such as some kind of Steam and console integration. Shockley, buddy, this is an interesting puzzle that, Gabe's just kind of laid out here. What do you think he could be hinting at?
Yeah, I mean that I'm not sure. I mean, people have kind of always hinted or wanted that'd be really cool if Xbox could have your whole Steam library, just make it a PC basically. But yeah, it's hard to say because you're definitely not going to make it so it's just like, hey, they have your Steam store on there. That's not going to happen. They're going to need their cut. Maybe it's yeah, it's hard to say. I'm just thinking like an EA Play app, but where it has your library. But that, yeah, I don't even know how that would work because you already have people already have libraries. So if they did that Steam integration, well, you're not spending new money. It's kind of like how Apple didn't want Microsoft on there because they're not selling them anything. They already sold them. They're already paying Microsoft outside of the app. Yeah, it's hard to say. Now, if he's thinking about getting some of their games, like Half-Life Alyx, it's such a niche, amount of people that are able to play this game that a lot of us here is amazing. So that'd be cool, if Xbox ever, lets you use a VR or the new PSVR 2, so you could play it on that level in case you don't have a PC that can handle it. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say because it's not like they're big into making a lot of games anymore. That was Half-Life Alyx was the first one in forever that I could think of. Yeah, so it seems really cryptic of it's like you said, it's not going to be what you think. And that's where I'm at a loss for it. So I don't know if anybody else has any better insight that actually kind of, saw the interview, but...
Well,
there was a couple of months ago, I guess. Well, at the beginning of the generation, he was on that news show. I think it was CNN or something like that, MSNBC, and they were interviewing him, and they asked him which console would you get, and he without even pausing, just went straight
Xbox.
Yeah, and they asked him why. So, I don't remember what his answer was. They asked him why, and I don't think he gave an answer. If he did, it was I don't remember what it was.
No, I remember what it was. Not to interrupt, but they asked him, and he said, "Because it's Xbox." That's what his answer was. And they were all weirded out because they, probably I think it was UK, where they are. It's totally pro Sony, and they were like, "What do you mean, Xbox?" And he was "Because it's Xbox."
Hey Tim, not to interrupt on you either. Let's take this full circle back to the conversation we had a little earlier about how there's shortages of computer products on the market right now. The 3090s are like unicorns. Also, all the electronics are messed up now. Valve or Steam is in the same situation of their consumer base right now is kind of at a standstill because there's no way to really kind of grow the PC market right now because the PC market's kind of FUCK'd. So I kind of can see why all of a sudden Steam, Valve wants to kind of maybe diversify the ability to reach out to a new customer base, because at this point right now, with everything the way it is, I could see probably they're looking at a little bit of a plateau, at least on their financial side.
Well, let me ask the panel. What would you guys want to see it be? Like, let's say it's exclusive to Xbox. What do you think it could be? Do you think it could be something simple like Game Pass on Steam, or more like Steam, whatever they make a game for them? Who knows? Like, what would be the best scenario? Where do you think it all is going? And I do think that there is a possibility here. But I don't know if it's anything. It'll be Xbox, not PlayStation, in my opinion.
Steam app on Xbox.
Right. Yeah, Steam app or
with limited games, obviously, but there
well,
will be all that stuff on there. But
yeah, but also I think okay. So I've been messing with this thing called Rainway, and it was a couple of years ago. Well, it was about maybe 3-4 years ago when it first came out. And I remember I was posting on Twitter that I was playing my Steam games on Xbox. People were like, oh, how are you doing that? Whatever. And I was saying, this is app. And I said, it's going to the Xbox store. All of a sudden, it went away. And then, of course, I got hounded by it, and they were, oh, and then now Rainway is coming back, and they're partnered with Xbox. So, to me, Xbox is really, I think that Phil and them are really trying to get into that market to bring those games over, because there's a lot of PC games that's coming over to Xbox. And also on consoles in general. I just think that the marriage, I think what was just said was what makes perfect sense because of how the pandemic is kind of hurting everything right now, that this is the perfect time for them to maybe introduce something like that, maybe put it in the beta, have some people look at it, and then also that Chrome, the Windows Chrome or whatever, that there's rumblings going on that people can play. They were playing Death Stranding off of Steam on their Xboxes. So if you can just buy into Steam, but then yet have an app to where you can go and play these games on your Xbox, that is the perfect marriage. And I think that Steam would definitely be all for that, because that kind of combats against what Epic has been doing by doing the free game thing. And then they got this partnership with Sony. And I think that, because of Steam was trying to get into the console market themselves by having their version of a console that didn't pan out, that this is the next best thing, and maybe they can expand a little bit later, but starting off with Xbox will be a really good look for them. And there would be no Xbox gamers that would be against it, because of the fact that, Xbox and PC is now kind of synonymous. I mean, we went through that crazy phase back in 2014, 2015,
Yeah.
and now that stuff is over with now. So it would be the perfect time for that to happen.
Yeah. Now, it's funny you mentioned that, Kmega, too, because that whole Epic and Apple thing, the lawsuit, because in the recently leaked court documents, there was a lot of stuff that popped up. And one was that Xbox head Phil Spencer had several meetings with Gabe Newell, apparently. So,
Yeah, they would want to have a Steam machine, and this is the next best thing for that, in my opinion. It's you get an app, you still buy into their games, kind of like what you do with EA, and then of course the rumors about Ubisoft. Then that also goes into Xbox having this ecosystem that you just cannot leave. You got access to your PC games, you got access to Ubisoft games, EA games. It's almost a no-brainer. That's the part right there where Xbox can win the generation, not by selling the most consoles, but having the most subscriptions, the most users behind it, in my opinion. So yeah, that would be a win. Yeah. And that would also help a lot of people also sign up to Steam, because there's a lot of games that's on PC that will probably never see the light of day on a console. And there's also more and more gamers that I know that's starting to learn how to play on mouse and keyboard. And since Xbox is now mouse and keyboard compatible, they can start playing those type of games over there too. So, the merit, it makes so much sense. And I remember the last time, well, not the last time I went to E3, but the first time I went to E3, Phil had a conference or something, and I didn't go to it. But the people came back to me and was telling me what he said, and he was saying what he said. And then I listened to that interview later on, when it was televised, that he wanted to make it right. He wanted to get a proper marriage to the PC gamer. I mean, not marriage, but he wanted to get the PC gamers involved into the Xbox ecosystem, same way as the Xbox gamers to get involved without this separation of, everything is so divisive where you just got to look at it. Oh, I'm PC master race. Oh, you're a console peasant type of stuff. The more and more Phil is trying to get everything put into one ecosystem, it just makes sense. They're trying to dominate the gaming world, but being nice about it. You know what I'm saying? That's what Microsoft is trying to do in my mind. And it's just, hey, if they get this would be the perfect scenario. And I think Fred would definitely agree because he's been playing on his PC more on his consoles right now. But I think that might change a little bit. So I don't know.
Yo, I mean, I just listen. Crazy times, man.
Yeah.
It's just crazy times.
Yeah. Well, again, it makes kind of sense too because again, a few years back, Valve wanted to get into people's living rooms with the Steam machines, right? And it didn't take off at all because it was just kind of confusing. You had the different hardware, plus the controllers weren't exactly too appealing. I mean, this would be another way to just grow their audience a lot of ways, and it helps.
Well, let me interrupt because I'm sorry for interrupting the whole show. I'm a moron, but what if it's Game Pass on Steam, and it's one that way? It's not the way that we just talked about.
Yeah, it could very well be.
I mean, that's a good look for Xbox. I never was one of those people that cared what, about where a game goes on a PC. I mean, I'm a console gamer primarily, so therefore it never bothered me, and so therefore that's a good look, and that's healthy for the future of these games to come out because we start seeing, just like with Sea of Thieves, it blew up once it came to PC. So yeah, you start bringing more games in there, and you've got access to Game Pass over there. It's a win for them.
I guess the only thing about that would be what would if you have a PC, you can just get Game Pass on PC.
Right.
You can just buy that now. You don't have to wait for it to come to Steam. And I know there's some fickle PC gamers out there that don't want to deal with the launcher for Xbox, but I mean they can do that now. They don't
that is a good point. That is a good point.
And plus we pay for Game Pass. So the PC guys don't want to pay for shit. So I don't know.
I don't know what it could be. Possibly. Listen, I don't think that Steam would be an app on Xbox, but you never can say never. I just wonder what it is. I do think there's something rumbling there. I think. Like I said, guys, there's a lot of stuff. It's really exciting. There's a lot of stuff they can surprise us with. I think they know they have us, and that's why they're radio silent right now. We're probably not guessing it too, but I'm thinking it's going to be a nice E3, and I think that they're going to also kind of maybe talk about. They won't talk about it, but they could be XO 21, and that might be in person. Which could also be an event, and they're also going to have a game show that they're going to put announcements to. So I think E3 is going to be a lot about Starfield, to be honest, and Halo is going to be there too. But I do think that Starfield is going to dominate the talk. I think it's going to, I just got a feeling about it. It's Todd Howard. He really deserves it. You know what I mean? Like Fallout 76 was tough on him. And I think that this is just a different case. This is what he does, and I don't know, man. You just go a lot of places in space. You know what I mean? And that's a perfect type RPG type game for it. So I'm very excited.
Right.
I mean, we have no idea what to expect. I've said this, Like, look, who would have ever expected the show, MLB The Show, to be on Xbox? Like, I think the boundaries of a lot of the things that we used to know and think that would never happen, I think we're about to just the gates is about to just be blown open, and we're just about to see a whole bunch of change in the industry, in my opinion.
Starfield's a card game.
Yeah, Starfield's a dating simulator.
Oh wow.
We brought a lot of good points up though on today's show. A lot of really good panel info and just people who know games and the industry. It's just very interesting to see where this is all going, and it's crazy to even be talking about Gabe and Microsoft. At one time, they were the fiercest of enemies.
Yeah.
You know.
No, and that's true, Tim. I mean, who would have thought that we would have had this? But again, like we're seeing some documentation coming out about Phil and Gabe talking, several months back. And again, we're hearing these rumblings of, I mean, even Gabe saying something, something's on the horizon. It may not be for Xbox, but I mean, considering that they're basically in talks with everybody to do something in some capacity, I would not put it past Phil to be in talks with Valve about something. So we'll see what happens with that Horizon, guys. Again, we're just talking about some fun stuff here. But Tim, I want to touch on something that actually you had touched on a few topics back, and we've got some reports of Studio The Coalition possibly working on a new IP. Because recently they shot down rumors swirling about them working on a Star Wars game. However, now there's talk of a new IP in the works. And according to Jeff Grubb on Colt Eastwood's new podcast, the Coalition is working on a smaller, more experimental game being used to trial Unreal Engine 5. Now, Tim, what do you think about this talk with the Coalition and a new IP? Would the Gears of War focused studio Coalition be interested in doing a new IP?
I think the answer is yes, just based on the fact that they're hiring. They put that out already. They're already about 350 big. They're a huge studio. So when I heard they're hiring, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to split two teams up. So I do think that that's what's going to happen. But what you're going to have is going to have probably the new IP comes out, and it's going to be more of an experimental thing to learn the engine, to learn what works, what really shines, and then really applying it to be the best representation of Unreal Engine 5 that they strive to do it for in video games. I think that they're going to do that with Gear 6. I think it could be a smaller game, experimental game, that could be, not that many, like I said, they're hiring, so that's a big deal. But I'm excited for it. It's just now it's Coalition's two teams. And that's, I think, something that they looked too early was to make multiple games, multiple teams. So that's where you go, basically. They're going to be probably making a new IP, and probably, I don't think it's going to be Gears, something totally new. And it could be, it could be really cool. It could be colorful. It could be, you know what I mean? It could be something that like what you wouldn't expect from them, And then I think that they're really going to put all their will to make Gear 6 at least, back to where, it should be. And that could be a mega hit.
Well, remember, Tim, the Coalition didn't originally start out as the Coalition. They were Black Tusk. They were creating a new IP, and they shelved that. I think the rumor was it was some kind of a spy game called Shanghai, if I'm not mistaken. So they have the roots of, being an original studio to create new IP somewhere, originally. Do you think that they'd bring back something like that?
Yeah, that's a great freaking point. I don't know if it'll be that, but it could be. They have the assets. They have it, right? Don't they have the assets? Or yeah, it could be. Yeah. And that's a perfect type game to mess with too. Doesn't have to be too long. Could be like 8 missions, and you do like Splinter Cell type graphics, gadgets. That's a perfect thing. Or it could be something maybe maybe just graphically like pushing some type of technique. I don't know. Like I said, they want to get used to using the engine, and when they get used to using the engine, that's when you could see great things. And having the engine matured by then, or if they're just going along with it, it could very well be the defining piece of Unreal Engine 5. Like, it's definitely possible they were very impressive what they did with the DLC.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about Coalition at all. I know they're going to produce.
No, absolutely, Tim. Actually, yeah, that Hivebusters DLC is pretty dope. I actually got to finish that. I was in the middle of it, but there's so much to game these days. Centurion, I would like to know your perspective on this. Do you think these rumors of the Coalition working on a new IP, do you think that there's some bite to this?
Maybe. We all know Rod Ferguson did leave. Maybe they're just wanting to kind of, I don't want to say they're not going to work on Gears, but maybe they want to kind of like broaden their perspective and work on a different game. Maybe they have a passion project. I don't know how to feel about a developer that works on one game solely. I understand they do it with 343 and other studios, but I always say if a developer can somehow kind of like expand their horizons and work on other projects at the same time without the other one suffering, hey, go for it. We all saw what they did with Gears 5. I feel like the franchise is in a good place, and maybe they have a good team and now they're wanting to kind of break off with a smaller team and work on something else. I'm looking forward to whatever it is they do, though.
Yeah, that's a fair comment.
I don't really know how to feel. There's been a lot of people that would get up in arms over the Coalition working on it versus oh my gosh, it was Epic Games that originally created Gears of War.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. That's where I've never been up in arms on exactly, wanting to make sure this developer or that works on one game. I feel that as long as you can be respectful to the games that have been and the lore that's there, good case in point is look at the movie industry. We see multiple directors from multiple studios, sometimes tackling these same franchises just from different perspectives. And sometimes it's actually really nice to see a different perspective on a game.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, like Pred, do you think that that Microsoft would allow them to work on a new IP, or like do you think that the Coalition needs to maybe take a little bit of a break from Gears of War?
I mean, I don't see why they couldn't do both. I was just looking while I think Tim was talking. I was looking at their website, and they basically had a job hiring spree in April for I want to say maybe 8 different jobs. So
nice.
And it didn't seem like it was just Gears centric. It seemed like they needed a lot of experience working with Unreal Engine and stuff like that. Which, but the manager for the positions was supposed to be in charge of like 20 to 30 people. So I could see them working on something smaller. And sometimes like you see these passion projects. It's not because it's not always because they want to, they're asking to branch out and do something else, right? Sometimes they just need to get used to new systems and new tools. And instead of wasting that time and energy on Gears 6, let's practice with this little BS game. It's
right, very good point.
So we can kind of play with the tools a little bit, see what we can and what we are and aren't capable of, fix the bugs and fix the issues we're going to have with it, and then we can transfer what we've learned over to our main title. And if this smaller title kicks off, so be it. Like we can work with that, but and we can continue to build it and make it better. But like that's why you see these games that are like games as a service games coming out a lot. It's to give these younger developers the tools to work with something they can consistently build on versus using these young guys to work on an existing project that's already making money for them. And it's like a music producer. They pick up all these people sometimes and you never hear from them because they're waiting on that one hit wonder guy that comes out and makes them more money than what they invested in. And that's what these small passion projects are. Imagine if some of these games that hit like Bleeding Edge hit, or Grounded hit, and they're consistently keeping people in the game because people were interested in it and they wanted to build. You'd be surprised, how some of these little smaller games that we thought were going to like Fall Guys, like that was a hit for a while. PUBG, like it was like it came out as a small game, small team, and it became a Megatron, so like you never know what's going to hit. And if you have a team of people that can start off with something small and turn it into something big, that's what you want. So I don't see why they wouldn't invest a little bit of money to a smaller team to branch off and work on something to get used to the assets and the tools. And who knows, maybe whatever they're working on turns into a gold mine. You never know how it's going to work out.
Yeah. Well, again, even with 343 Industries, for example, I've heard a lot of talk. Oh, let 343 work on something else, branch out from Halo. But again, Halo is a billion-dollar franchise, for example. It's huge, and that's what people go there to work on. Again, Tim said there's like 700 people at 343 Industries.
Yeah, well,
I mean, again, they all don't work on a single game, but again, there's like multiple facets to the IP, and there's licensing, there's books, and so on. There's merchandising, and there's lots of facets to these IPs, and people go to these studios because they want to work on these. That is their passion project. Halo or the Coalition with Gears of War, that's what they do. So again, even if this is a little title, I mean, I wouldn't mind personally, but I think people also have to understand that these studios, they're made for the purpose of pushing forward the next big game in these franchises. So
yeah,
It's so true.
It would be nice for them to like, branch off. I get with like Halo because they have a whole like vision with how Halo is going to go for the next like decade, with how they're going to try to build upon it, make this, their whole vision initially was like, okay, you can see that part of the ring, you can just go to it, like the whole ring. So I think over the next 10 years, maybe they'll accomplish that. With Gears, you'll probably only have one more left to like end whatever that story is. So it'd be nice if they just mix up like, hey, whatever you were planning. I mean, they probably already working on a new IP, but it'd be nice to have that like in the mix, and then maybe Gears come out like mid, gen, kind of like how you saw like Last of Us. Like they didn't do that Last of Us 2 immediately. They mixed it up, went back to Uncharted, and then hit with the Last of Us 2 at the end. So that'd be a nice mix to give it a break, and then that might make Gears even punch, hit harder when it releases, because it'd be a nice break in between it. People get some time, kind of like with Forza and like how they're trying to space these out to, not be so repetition, repeating every couple of years. So.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Shock. Well, I mean, either way, the Coalition, they are a very talented studio, and I look forward to what's coming down the line. They'll be given some more time. Obviously, there's not as much like Xbox Game Studios isn't depending as much on like just a certain few studios now. There's so many teams within studios now that they don't have to they can take their time on the games, like 3 or 4 years, as opposed to maybe churning out a game every 2 years. So again, I look forward to what they have in store, and hopefully we get to see something new from them. All right, fellas, now leading into our final topic of the evening, and recently it was announced that Xbox Game Studios and Tencent's TiMi Studios have formed a strategic partnership to create game content. Now, the studio behind this is behind mobile games such as Call of Duty Mobile and the upcoming Pokemon Unite. So, pretty big titles here. I mean, some of the biggest mobile games ever, actually, such as Call of Duty Mobile. Guys, this partnership gets me really curious, since Xbox is already heavily invested in like xCloud for mobile streaming and so on. Centurion, could we see more mobile curated game content for some big Xbox franchises possibly coming out of this?
How about the question is, why should we not? I mean, mobile gaming is definitely a hot market in itself. As we heard, Tencent is definitely kind of got that market very well cornered. They're very successful on the mobile gaming market. So successful that they've actually kind of built so much consumer data that now if you read other articles from other news sources, Tencent's also getting ready to be fined by the government over there in China for antitrust violations. They're also being scrutinized by our own government over here in the United States for essentially owning like a 40% share in Epic Games, who has a large amount of consumer data housed there that they say that they don't share with Tencent. Same with Riot Games. So they're kind of in a little bit of a thing where they have to have these cooperations, in my opinion, to kind of show that they're not what they're trying to be made out to be. I sometimes a little bit trepidatious when it comes to Tencent because of what they do. For them, mobile gaming, everything is monetized. That's pretty much Tencent, is to make money in any way they're in: music, television, gaming. And I'm really hoping that Microsoft is obviously, God, I'm just going to be truthful. I just really hope they know what they're doing when they're dealing with a company like Tencent. And obviously, Tencent can help them kind of grow leaps and bounds in the mobile market, especially with certain franchises. I mean, would anybody here be resistant to a form of Halo on a mobile level?
That's a tough question. I just think because when you look at it, I think they're very particular about that title, Halo.
I don't want. I'm just using. It was just an off the cuff title.
No, but it's actually a good point. I want to bring up.
Hasn't there been like an offshoot of Forza?
Yes, yeah. I can see Forza. I can see smaller other games, but I don't see. I like, let's say, like a Halo Wars. If they decided they wanted to do another Halo Wars or a Gears Tactics, something like that. But I don't know about Halo or Gears per se, or like
they did Gears with Gears Pop, and I think that left a
bad taste in the mouth.
Yeah, which is, to be honest, I'd rather them just stay at a local level, just on the console. Listen, I know for a fact that Xbox knows well about Tencent, and I remember talking to somebody and them telling me Tencent's one of the bigger leaders. I'm like, who's this company? This is like 2017, and they're someone to watch. So they know. So that's why probably Xbox is being so aggressive too, because if they can secure the content market, and get these games made and have this model up and everything, that they'll hold their power. You know what I mean? I think Tencent though is very aggressive with mobile gaming. I don't know. I think that also I think xCloud and other things like that are more and more becoming normal or used. So I don't know about the mobile market. The mobile market to me is just it's dead gambling. It's shitty games until they can make the games where they're really amazing. That's the one I'd start to care about. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I'd rather stick to Xbox and play an xCloud on it with a controller. To be honest, I mean, is there any game that's a must-have mobile game? People use slots, like people do that. Like I do that. I spend money on.
I need to play some Bejeweled.
That's why I think that Xbox going after a Japanese studio makes a lot of sense, because those would be the type of games that could transfer over to mobile easily. Like, I mean, let's not forget, Sony has one of their most profitable games that's a mobile game. So that to me is where I think that where Xbox probably wants to go, because if they get a studio, they get a let's say Sega, and just think about all those games that could be
Sega
that they can negotiate.
Sega that would be a Sega. That would be, I agree with Sega, would be the perfect studio that would fill that whole Xbox East West, just thinking, out of the box,
right?
Type
and the
ideas.
relationship, and the relationship between Xbox and the East would be would open up a little bit more, because
100%.
Yeah. So that's what
I've always said too. Yeah. I said you have to get people working from that country on that. You don't need to have an Americans running it. That's a completely Xbox West situation. You know what I mean? Like, it's people from their families and everyone around there, and then developers who come out to do it, I guess, for them and live there. But you know what I mean? I think it has to be run, by if it's Japan, and have it run that way. You know what I mean? And have it be its own entity. And I think it would run well. I think Sega is a perfect example for what you just laid out, Kmega. Now, whether it's going to go that way, we don't know.
Right.
My take in mobile gaming is that it has a little bit of a ceiling because you can't really get really good games with touch. And I don't know, it just feel like it's always going to be a freaking spend your money. They don't give you a game to not spend your money. They give you like 20 seconds of gameplay, 2 minutes of gameplay, and then hey, it's you want to buy this, or then they make it a absolutely unreachable grind to get it to where you can earn stuff. So we all know about that. So I don't know if that model is going to stay. I think it'll always be there, but I just could see it plateauing. But I do think Tencent and Microsoft, if Microsoft is going to get involved with it, Sega would be the perfect developer to handle something like that, or Konami, which is already doing it. I don't know whether they go that way or wherever, but they're going some way. They're going to be investing. They're going to be building.
I don't foresee. I wasn't trying to interrupt, but I don't foresee Microsoft getting in with Tencent in the idea of like, hey, we want to create some monetized POS of a game. We want to create a game on a mobile level that basically advertises almost the value of the Xbox ecosystem to kind of put that worm in someone's brain of, I want to go check the full ecosystem out.
I don't know if I would trust Tencent to go anywhere
No, I don't.
near Xbox.
I don't trust them.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Nobody trusts them.
Mike, no, what I don't say, I'm not saying we're going to let Tencent do that for him, but I say Microsoft we look at what Microsoft has done. Everybody was like, oh, look, Microsoft's behind PlayStation. Well, Microsoft flipped the script and we're like, well, we don't need to catch up. We're just going to come out with Game Pass and change the industry overnight. I really like how Microsoft, anything they tackle, they really kind of try it from a different perspective. And that's where, even though they are partnering with Tencent, I think they're just using Tencent for the fact that Tencent has a lot of pedigree in the mobile industry. They really know what they're doing. But I do think that we're going to probably see some of that Microsoft flair kind of shine through on a little bit of a different product, because this is a partnership with Microsoft. This just isn't Tencent running amok.
Well, this is why I think it's the best of both worlds. Timmy was kind of hitting on what I was thinking with the whole, with you you're selling to a market in the East, and then of course like xCloud is selling its market more to the West, and then there'll be tweeners where there'll be people that will kind of dib and dab into both. I just think that Microsoft really is serious about trying to get into that Eastern market, and the best way to do that is to invest into the people who know the Eastern market the best. So Tencent is one of the biggest, one of the best. These type of games that I like. Let's just say, like for instance, a Halo. Halo is, I don't think it's a huge game, but I don't see Halo being on that type of game, because I don't think that would be a game that would go over well on a cell phone like that. It could, because Call of Duty is on mobile, but I just think if you got Tencent and they know how to make those games, how to put those games to make them work, I think that there will be more of something if Xbox invests into an Asian studio, and then also for some of the smaller games that indie or AA games that Xbox might have, that they might want to put on a cell phone that could work for them as well. I just think that they need the help, because what they've been doing and try to break into that market has not worked since the Xbox has been around. So if in order to be truly fully global and compete with the Nintendos and the PlayStations and even the mobile market, I think that you have to include them in some case and point.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point too. Presumably, again, these experiences would be like, again, native mobile games. Again, geared, I would assume, more geared towards those kinds of markets. So again, we'll see what happens in like the next couple of like either months or a year or so, and see if anything gets announced from this. Again, I'm just very curious that they would go this route, but they're being aggressive. And again, we've wanted Xbox to be more aggressive in these markets over the past year or so. This panel has talked about the different relationships that Xbox has formed with, for example, Samsung. Whether it be in Korea and just those markets, just to bring Game Pass into whether it be like the TVs or just like again the mobile devices, just expanding just to have more reach. So again, it's just very impressive, and I'm very curious to see what will become of this relationship, this partnership down the road. So hopefully we get to see more like game studios, like maybe some acquisitions, whether it be Japanese, Korean. I'll be very curious. Like, I want them to be very serious.
One of the things too, we're going all around, but I had mentioned this 3 shows ago, and it was purely speculation, purely basically throwing whatever at the wall, paper at the wall, whatever the saying is, just to throw an idea out there. But I would love for Kojima to say run all the studios and have a bunch of studios he creates, and he handles that whole thing, like him being an Xbox West pioneer, or he would be the Matt Booty. I would love to see that happen, but I know that's not going to happen. A lot of the things lost through all this hype too that I do still believe Kojima too is definitely involved with Xbox. And we might get that at E3, might not, maybe get that at XO, but that's coming too. And that's going to be that could be the mind blowing exclusive too. I didn't think about that back then.
That would be huge. Like, yeah,
but that's coming too. Like I really feel confident that there's fire there.
No, absolutely.
I mean, even if people think that maybe Kojima's overrated, but the fact is Kojima is still Kojima. It's like with how maybe it's, even if you like The Last of Us 2 or not, Naughty Dog is Naughty Dog, and that is 343 is 343. So that would be massive. That would be massive if Xbox can land something with Kojima. Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, absolutely, guys. And we'll see again what happens down the road with this partnership. But I think on that note, we'll end off tonight's show. Again, a really, really fun show tonight. Some really interesting perspectives and discussions around like various topics such as Starfield, the Coalition, and just all these partnerships forming around Xbox and so much more. We kind of encapsulated a whole bunch of different topics, but it was great chat as well. And as with all our other shows, lots of really good banter going on in the chat. And guys, always appreciate you guys just showing up, hanging out with us here. Guys like, again, Albert, thank you for joining us. Pixel Slappa, Valorian, ATL, so many others in the chat. Other Zinc, you're always here. We really appreciate you guys. And, hey, if you guys could leave a like, share this out, and hey, sub if you haven't already, just to keep updated on all the upcoming shows and interviews that we got. We really appreciate having you here. You guys are great. Now let's get on to some of the panel outros here, and I'll start with our fantastic guest tonight. Predator, really, really good show tonight. Great insight all around. Thanks for coming on, bud. Where can everybody find you?
Predator_H2S on Xbox, on Steam, and on PlayStation 5. Also, next podcast on Thursdays with this other knucklehead here, Kmega. So make sure you guys check us out, and make sure he's unplug his channel too, so I'll let him do that. But definitely check us out when you guys get a chance on Thursdays. And hey man, I'm happy to have you had me on today. It's great talking to all you guys about the topics and stuff tonight. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Hey, it was great hanging with you. Such a cool fella. Next up, Kmega, buddy. It was a pleasure getting you on. Your commentary on everything, just the past week's news. Some really good stuff here. Where can all of our listeners find you at?
Oh man, really appreciate it. You can catch me on Twitter a lot. I like to post some things. For some people, they just get a little upset, but I'll say how I just speak my mind. But it's at Kmega4 on Twitter. The channel on YouTube is Kmega405. I also stream. In fact, after this, I'm going to be streaming what I call Fight Night Sundays, which we play a whole bunch of different fighters all night long. So and that's going to be a Twitch at Kmega405, and then of course Friday nights, the GRG podcast, 8 o'clock p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, and I believe it's 2 a.m. GMT time. I'm working on that overseas time a little bit, but and then of course the next podcast with my boy Xbox448, and then of course Fred. Really appreciate the guys over there, and man, thank you for having me on, man. It's been an honor for real talking to everybody and listening to their expertise, man. Real high class, man. I really do appreciate it.
All right, thanks, buddy. Really appreciate that. And now let's move over to the TXR regulars. Tim Dog, hey, always an interesting perspective on all things Xbox and whatnot. Where can everybody find you at?
You can find me on Twitter, xCloud Tim Dog. Awesome show. Predator and Kmega, two veterans who really know what they're talking about. It was like a discussion that you'd have at like E3 at the bar or something like that. Just a lot of knowledge tonight, and I think we painted the case that we're very excited to be Xbox fans. There's a lot boiling right now and going on, and I wonder when they're going to announce E3. I'm hopefully maybe tomorrow. But I'm getting that feeling. I can't believe, you go back prior, Kmega knows this. We were talking about E3 in February every day.
Yeah.
On Twitter. So there's been no hype. Like people don't know about it. So I think that if they just drop something in the next 2 weeks, it's going to start to get the hype going. And the Starfield looks like it's taking over. So I think could be a fun couple of weeks or whatever. But happy to be here, and just like I said, great panel tonight. And those are the shows that I love when I look back on, where you just go on and talk about cool stuff.
Yeah, good stuff there, Tim. Next up, we got Centurion. Hey, good stuff, 50 Cent. Where can everybody follow you at, my friend?
Yes, definitely amazing show tonight. Had an awesome time. Enjoyed listening to our guests, Predator and Kmega. For those interested in finding me, you can find me right here every Sunday night on the TXR Podcast. You can find me every Saturday night on the Shop Podcast. You can also locate me on my YouTube channel, Xbox Live, and Twitter at Centurion1307.
Yeah, you heard it from the man. Go check him out. And what we got here? Shockley, buddy. Eric Shockley. Always some good banter coming out of you, brother. Now let people know where they can find you at and contribute to your OnlyFans account.
Yeah, I haven't got that set up yet. But yeah, it's a good idea.
Totally.
But yeah, you can find me at Shock Nero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live. And yeah, thanks for Kmega and Predator stepping by. Had good show. Good topics. See you later.
Yeah, well said, buddy. And of course, guys, I'm Invader, and you can follow my content over on YouTube at Invader Gaming. I'm also on various other media sites such as BitChute, Minds Gaming, under the same name, Invader Gaming. I've also got a few reviews coming, so keep posted on that. Excellent show tonight, fellas, and we look forward to seeing you here next Sunday. So, see ya, guys. Take it easy.